Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Darnise, and I want to welcome you back into Dr. Darnise's House of Religion, Magic, and Conjure. How's it going out there? I know it's been a little bit of a minute since I come on with a video, but things have been really popping over here on my end and had to take care of some things. I've been asked to do some interviews, in the season in which we live now, about Black religion, about Black civil rights, Black power, all of these kinds of things that's going on in our community right now in our country. Yeah, so as a history and religion professor, I've been asked to do a number of things, and so I kind of been busy with that. But here I am back, and as a matter of fact, I just got back from another event. That's why I'm kind of like done up in my gown from Tanzania. I got this a few years ago when I was visiting Tanzania. So, but anyway, what I want to come on here and talk about today is this thing called white Christianity that we see running rampant in our country right now. And most recently, although by the time I upload this in an hour or so, something else could have happened. But y'all know at the Republican National Convention, not that I really watched it because, it's too painful and just you want to choke. But what we see on display is this thing called white Christianity, white evangelical Christianity, which James Cone told us about as one person, right? Y'all know I talk to y'all about Black liberation theology and James Cone as the father of Black liberation theology. And he named this thing called white Christianity as being the problem with Christianity. He was making the distinction that you could be a Christian, but you got to pull that racism out of it. Now, you might argue that that's impossible, especially now, because the point I'm making is these people are using Christianity to get their followers to believe that they are Christian. And that therefore voting for these Republicans would be in line with their Christian faith. Now, many people become one issue voters. They just want to vote on, being pro-life. And they totally disregard everything else that this president or this administration might do. They just erase that. They just don't pay any attention at all, despite the example left to them by their own Bible, by Jesus himself, a brown-skinned Jewish Palestinian man. It hurts their feelings when they have to think of him as being brown and Jewish as opposed to white and Aryan. And we know that. That's part of the construct of white Christianity, is to make Jesus white and to resist and fight against the idea that he was brown, right? So we're witnessing something right now from where we are in our country, where we are in 2020. Although I keep calling it the year of clear vision, where we can really see, if we ever had any doubts, and clearly some people have had doubts about the level of systemic racism that exists in this country, the way that it is that racism has pervaded Christianity. We can see clearly now, wow, these people are willing to do or say pretty much anything and then cover it with a veneer of Christianity. Y'all remember this president went with his Bible, tear gassed the protesters outside the White House, walked with his Bible to the front of a church to stand there in front of it, upside down and all, but to pretend, right? So that his followers, though, believe him. They so much want him to be their great white hope. They so much want him to be their white God that they're just willing to follow him wherever. So here we are in, I was going to say the middle of 2020. Now we're in late August. About to go into election season full on, and we're going to continue to see this because because the Republicans have a relationship with evangelical Christians historically, right? And so the Republican Party has considered itself to be uh, the party of values and morality. All of that has failed now. It's so hypocritical that it is unbelievable. But that's why we're able to see the white supremacy embedded in the form of Christianity that they practice. Because they cannot defend it, the behaviors, they cannot defend it on the really. So it becomes a game of subterfuge. It becomes a way of trying to trick people. It's like gaslighting, it's manipulation. And those of us who can stand outside of it a bit, we're like, wow, you really are falling for this? This has nothing to do with your Jesus. You still want to be critical of other people's religions. You want to be critical of Muslims and Sharia law. But indeed, you want Christianity to be the law of the land in America. That would be a form of Sharia law. That would be a theocracy. A theocracy is where your theology is your government. Your theology or your religion informs your politics. So that people can say, well, is this candidate Christian? Does this candidate practice biblical principles? Is this candidate godly? But we have separation of church and state. So those are really not legitimate questions in a political process. But they've become embedded in our political process. So, okay, on one level, we just have to get with the idea that yes, they have become embedded in our political process. But now we see you don't even mean it. You used to take the moral high ground, or at least you used to say you took the moral high ground. You used to cover up the lies and the hypocrisy. Now the lies and hypocrisies are just out here for the world to see, and you don't care. And it's so amazing to me, like white Christianity has just announced itself like, yeah, and what you gonna do about it? And those of us, brown and black people, are like, well, we're getting ready to snatch Jesus back. For one thing, I don't have to be a Christian, but I can snatch him back because he wasn't white. And he didn't say any of this stuff y'all are saying. You know, this is not who he was. Y'all are just lying on Jesus from head to toe, literally, because they've just turned him into white, blonde, blue-eyed, just lying on him from the start. So, I don't know, it just got in my spirit, as you can see, that I'm like, God, we are looking so much at white Christianity, which is infused with white supremacy. James Baldwin and W.B. Du Bois have said that Christianity is morally bankrupt. Well, clarify, American Christianity is morally bankrupt because it's not about adhering to the practices of that religion. It's not. It is just about using the religion to create an allure, a halo effect to say, yeah, whatever I do is Christian, right? Because I say I'm a Christian, whatever I do, whatever I say is Christian. And you think to yourself, how are they going for this? How are they going for this? And here's the other part that's particularly hurtful and scandalous. You have to think to yourself, well, God, if these people are just so, if their Christianity is just white supremacist Christianity, what is it that black people or brown people or native people are practicing when they're Christian? What is the Christianity that non-white people can practice, especially in this country? And the reason I put it this way is again, James Baldwin said, and I keep saying I'm gonna do a class. I'm gonna do a reading class, y'all, on James Baldwin. Put in comments. Y'all want to hear James Baldwin? For such a time as this, he really is our prophet. But he already told us, so many things come to mind. He was speaking about Martin Luther King Jr. He was being asked about Martin Luther King Jr. And his response was, well, I kind of feel bad for Martin because he's a real Christian. He's a true Christian, and these other people are not. and he said this in the 1960s, right? He said Martin is the one um, affirming these Christian doctrines and walking in it, but white people are not walking in it. So from that, try to answer my own question: what form of Christianity are non-white people in America practicing? They're trying to practice what they really consider to be true to the scripture, true to the model of Jesus, trying to live that, trying to walk that. But then they're constantly confronted with white Christians who are not doing it. So, so black people are expected to be real Christians when white people can just say they're Christian and act in entirely other ways. Black people take on Christianity like as a guide for how to live day to day, right? A guide, and try to do that. A lot of white Christians, no. They just call themselves Christian. They might even wear a cross. They might even go to church, but they leave it in the church. They don't live it. They don't come out of that church and see people and how they could help them. They blame people who are poor. They name call. They shame people. They bully people. Right? They're not out here trying to uplift in the name of their God. They're out here to criticize and to judge in the name of their God. And they feel like they're perfectly still good Christians because they go back to church the next Sunday and they feel good about themselves. Meanwhile, black people are out here like trying to live it. Not that they're perfect about it either, but there's a different mindset that black people bring to their Christianity about the relationship with Jesus and how Jesus wants you to live and how it should inform your life. Right? So you help people, you have a compassionate heart, you extend yourself. Right? But what we're seeing now in our country, it has to be obvious to you listening to me right now. It's so obvious that what we're witnessing and are going to continue to witness during this election cycle is a very mean-spirited Christianity in name only. Right? We see them. We see this president, and we're like, how? Like I always want to say to people, what did you hear him say? Because I heard him say this. You think that was okay, right? Like what? We're not. Again, as James Cone said, we don't live in the same world. We're not reading the same text. And I guess I would put James Cone along with James Baldwin's assessment of Martin Luther King Jr. in that James Cone was a real Christian. And he wanted it to infuse his life and infuse his writing and his teachings and to help people. Right? He wasn't trying to just write theory. He wasn't trying to prop himself up with the gospel of Jesus Christ. But what we see rampant now in the Republican Party is just a desire to use Jesus to prop themselves up for their own power. And so we're looking at white evangelical Christianity as something that is distinct from what is actually Christianity. So I guess I'm feeling like I got that off my chest. And I would be interested to know your comments as well, because these are the times in which we live. And you can hardly get up, one day after another without there being another example of how rampant white Christianity is. Maybe you haven't even thought to call it that because we've gotten so used to, we just say white supremacy, right? But white supremacy has embedded within it it has reshaped this a Christianity. White supremacy has reshaped a Christianity for white Americans. It's twisted it, it's distorted it, right? And we've had so many people of color try to come and sort it out. It makes me wonder, why are we even trying to sort it out? But so many people of color, black people, Latino people, Native American people, Asian people, trying to restore it, trying to say y'all have demonized it. You've twisted it so badly that people want to just throw it all away. I know many people watching me are going to tell me in the comments that you already threw it away. And I don't blame you, right? Already threw it away. But those of us who were raised, from children to be Christian, you kind of have it kind of still in your psyche, right? You just got baptized and whatever when you were a child, whatever. And even though we've chosen other paths now, Jesus is still in there, but it came to us through, the way our parents or grandparents or even great grandparents gave it to us. My great grandmother used to take me to church when I was a really little girl, right? But I still have memories of that. I remember my mother taking me to church and giving me half a piece of gum and giving me a piece of paper so I could just be quiet and still while we were at church. And so that's in there, even though I choose other paths now. But y'all feel me on that part. I'm just saying, one of the things to watch for in this election is how they are using Christianity, how they're using Jesus to their twisted benefit. And so recognize that that's part of the plan. Like it's not even like, okay, well, this is a political election, let's run with the politics of it. No, they reach and get the religion, right? Because they know white evangelicals feel themselves to be Christian, and so they want to sound like it. It's such an insidious, just hateful trick, right? Use people's religion and their spirituality against them, and then tell them, oh yeah, but it's okay because God has chosen me. So anyway, I'm going to wrap this up. I would appreciate your comments. I, of course, want to say thank you for joining. For those of you who are new to the channel, I'd like to suggest that you join me on Patreon, where I continue to do additional kind of programming, I guess we'll call it, videos over there and such. And again, let me know if you want to hear some more about James Baldwin. I'm thinking of doing a reading group on his book, The Fire Next Time. In that book, it's the most prophetic text. If you have not read The Fire Next Time, you must. And I did a teaching on that already. That's how much, it means to me. But he talks religion, he talks politics, he talks sociology, in the sense that he's talking about how Black people, what Black people had to endure, and what it is for Black people to have to continually, generation after generation, to endure racism, and how it impacts us on the inside, right? So let me know if you'd like to participate in that with me. Otherwise, I'll just say bye for now.